All right, I'm here with Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Alexander, let's talk about Italy and its impending partnership with China. And this is pretty big news. I believe Italy is the first EU country that is going to be signing up in China's One Belt, One Road initiative. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And can I say it is momentous news? In my opinion, it's actually bigger news in some ways than Brexit is in Britain, because, of course, it is bringing the Eurasian powers led by China right into the heart of the European Union. Now, can I just say something about the One Belt, One Road initiative, which is what the Chinese are talking about? Back in 2016, I attended an economic conference in St. Petersburg, and Vladimir Putin was there, and the Chinese were there. And I heard them all saying, look, we've got this huge project which seeks to build infrastructure across from China through Russia and Central Asia to Europe. And we are an obvious economic link. We are able to link up our various economies together in order to trade better, and that will be good for us. And what was extraordinary to me was the way in which the Europeans acted completely uninterested. And one of the people who was there at that same economic conference was the then arch-liberal Italian Prime Minister, Matteo Renzi. And he showed no interest in all of this. It was all as if it was all passing by him. And what has happened since then is that, of course, the Chinese and the Russians have pressed ahead with the One Belt, One Road initiative. The Russians sometimes call it the Greater Eurasia Project. The Europeans and the Americans have become increasingly hostile to it. And we see people like Emmanuel Macron now talking towards China in increasingly adversarial terms. And finally, one of the European Union's major economies, Italy is number 3 in the Eurozone in terms of the size of its economy and number 2 in terms of its industrial power, has broken ranks and has finally signed up to it. And I am confident that where the Italians lead, others will go. We will soon see countries like Hungary, possibly Poland, conceivably the Visegrad states, Austria, the Czech Republic, Slovakia. They will follow Italy's example and they will move forward with this thing.
Why Italy? Why did they choose to do this? And what's the blowback that they're going to face from Germany and from the US?
Now, the reason Italy's done this is because, of course, there was a change of government in Italy last year, and that brought this new coalition of the Northern League and of the Five Star Movement to power, which has always been much more sceptical about the whole EU project and has been much more antagonistic to this integrationist project that is involved, that has been pursued, and which wants to assert Italy's national interests above those of the European Union and of the Atlanticist core. So that's already been, that was the major breakthrough. But what is really very interesting is that it isn't just those two parties in Italy, the Northern League and the Five Star Movement, that are supporting this deal with the Chinese. In fact, key figures of Italy's traditional political establishment, including the Italian president, who has been up to now very loyal to the EU, have spoken out strongly in favor of it also. And I think the reason is actually very simple. What Italy has discovered is by signing up to this entire EU project, it has doomed its economy to permanent stagnation. Oh, since Italy joined the euro, the Italian economy has barely grown at all. Its debts are increasing. Its infrastructure is rotting. Investment has come to a practical standstill. The banks are in a terrible state. And whenever the Italians come along and tried to explain this to the Europeans, they come up against a brick wall with the Europeans doing everything they possibly can to keep Italy inside the European prison in which it's been put. So when there was little talk a few months ago of the Italians running a bigger budget deficit than they'd, been up to then allowed to do, the Europeans came down very heavily on them and started threatening them with sanctions against their banking system, as happened, as we both remember, to Cyprus and Greece. So the Italians are saying to themselves, look, we're not getting any help from the EU. We're not getting any help from the Western financial community. Who are the people with the deep pockets who have money to spare and who want to invest in our economy and to build up infrastructure? Well, the Chinese have it in abundance. So let's open our doors to the Chinese. Let's invite the Chinese President Xi Jinping to Italy. Let's meet him there and let's sign up to this project. And that's what they've done. And the Europeans and the Americans are very unhappy about this because, as I said, it brings China and the Eurasian powers right into the heart of Europe and into the European Union.
And explain a little bit the One Belt, One Road initiative, Alexander.
Yes.
In simplistic terms, because I'll simplify it in my mind a little bit from a geographical level. It's just basically saying from China through to Russia into Europe, the trade's just going to flow right over the continent. Exactly. One road, one belt, boom, right into Europe.
Exactly.
So simplistically speaking, to get to Italy, you're going to need a couple of more connector countries in Europe. True?
You will. But already, the Chinese they own the port of Piraeus. They are now heavily involved in Turkey. And apparently one particular place they're looking at with great interest is Venice. And that part of the Italian western coastline. But obviously they will need more partners. So, the Russians are now building pipelines to Turkey. There's talk of extending them to Bulgaria and Serbia. Russia is, of course, a close partner of China in the One Belt, One Road initiative. So where the Russian pipelines go, the Chinese with their big pockets will follow. And they've got now, with Italy, one of the key players signed up. So it's all about integrating the Eurasian economy through its land and sea routes, but to a great extent also through its land routes, in a way that will make the Chinese less dependent on trading through the Pacific and through the South China Sea, which will bind Eurasia, this huge mass of territory, together economically, but which will also circumvent the United States and will make any attempt by the United States to try to blockade China, which some people in America have crazily talked about. It will make that impossible.
And so, it's Brzezinski who said in the Grand Chessboard, he who controls Eurasia
controls the world.
Yeah.
Going a view going all the way back, by the way, to a British geopolitical scientist before the First World War called Mackinder, who made exactly that point.
So what does Italy have to fear now as far as EU technocrats and bureaucrats in Brussels and the United States, of course?
Well, they are going to be furious about this, and the French, of course, have already made their antagonism to the Italian government very clear. Macron recalled his ambassador because the Italian Prime Minister Deputy Prime Minister, I think, dared to meet with a member of the some of the yellow vests. Right. So the Europeans are going to be try and do all. They're going to play out all the bag of tricks that they can to try to clamp down on Italy more and more. The problem they have is that Italy is big. It's a big economy. If they really punish Italy very hard, then they risk bringing down the entire European economy, because Italy is such an important part of it. And Italy has friends within the EU. It has friends with countries like Hungary, Poland, the Visegrad states, Czechoslovakia, Slovakia. So it's got a potential block of supporters within the EU who are going to have increasing influence on the European Council. So yes, the Europeans will try to punish Italy in whatever way they can. The United States is extremely unhappy with this deal, which it sees as another step by another European country coming straight after the Nord Stream 2 pipeline between Russia and Germany. Italy now going with the Chinese is another sign that the European allies of the United States are fracturing away from the US alliance system. But in practical terms, there may not be very much they can do. But these people never give up, and they will no doubt try. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the United States has spent the last 2-3 years obsessing about Trump being Putin's, puppet, and Russia. And they failed to see, the number one geopolitical foe, which is China, just continuing to do business. While the U.S. was obsessed with this ridiculous hoax, China was doing business.
Of course. I mean, the Chinese have now gained a huge head start, and I think over the last couple of months, the US has started to wake up to this fact. But it's very late in the day for them to do anything about it. And the Italians are now signing up, and I'm sure, as I said, other countries will. I predict Hungary will follow. I predict Poland will before very long, and that I think will upset the US a lot, because I think the US believes Poland to be a particularly strong friend. But it's actually quite interesting that there's now some talk in Poland, apparently, even within the Polish government, of the need to start to repair relations with Russia, which is really remarkable when you consider what kind of a government it is. So, and that may be a straw in the wind, that they're also thinking of moving towards the One Belt, One Road initiative. And of course, at the end of it all, there is the big prize, which is Germany. China is now Germany's biggest trading partner. The Germans have heavily invested in China. They are refusing to stop using Huawei software in their 5G platforms, and at the same time, they're forging ahead, as we discussed, with Nord Stream 2. And the synergies between Germany and China, as the synergies between Germany and Russia, are very obvious. And it's difficult to see when something is so obvious that it won't eventually happen.
Yeah, I just keep on going back to the fact that, this is more of the unintended consequences that are going to hit the U.S. from just not having your eye on what's going on in the world, not just dealing with such stupid stuff that they let all of Eurasia, China, Russia, and now the European Union just kind of start to form their own alliance.
Exactly. That is exactly what's happening. I mean, whilst the US is screaming about, what Donald Trump Jr. said to Veselnitskaya in a meeting in Trump Tower and all that kind of nonsense, the Chinese are coming with their big checkbook and are doing deals. And they're going to be doing more and more of those deals. And they're now, as I said, in the heart of Europe, because Italy is the heart of Europe. It's not the periphery. It's not the periphery.
You don't get much into the heart in Italy, that's for sure.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Alexander Mercouris, Editor-in-Chief of the Duran, thank you very much. Guys, if you like this video, click on the subscribe button down below. Click on that notifications bell to get notifications every time we push out a new video. Visit the Duran shop, buy a t-shirt. That really helps us out a lot. And you can go donate to the Duran, PayPal, Patreon. The links are in the description box down below. Also, go to the Duran.com and see all the articles that Alexander is linking up to as well. Alexander Mercouris, editor in chief of the Duran. Thank you once again. Until next time, take care.